Hello everybody, welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. 371 is our solved puzzle count. A fair few, but we have plenty more to do. Now we're in this region here with the Palisades, and so we can look at a lot of this and go, how on earth are we going to have to do not this because of that one in the corner, but this is how we're going to have a single line here is going to be having lots of boxes around this. This is a 2. The corners are going to have to be... I think there's going to be a lot of dominoes here. Is probably what's going to happen. And this is a 2. So how are we going to do this? It's a fantastic question. I think these two are going to be part of the same group. In fact, is it going to be... No, it can't be that. How? How is that going to work? You need to have one of your 4 and then 3 open. But you need to have 2 open. How can you have 2 open when everything around you has to be closed off? It's getting towards something like this. Obviously, that in the corner is not helping us. But we can't do that. And there's... Otherwise, apart from these two, that's the only other strange piece. Which is either going to have to be this with this. It should actually have to be that and that. So that's one way this could start. The other way would be for that to be horizontal. And so we can kind of just play out one path versus the other and see how things conclude, I suppose. Because I can't see the injection of the logic here. That has to be capped and that has to be capped. How can this be open on 2 sides? Is what I really don't understand. If you're not going to do that, then this would have to do this, which is fine, apart from I don't see how this can then have one more side. Because we can't do that or this. I don't see how that adds up. So the other option would be this, put a box around it, into that. Then this could be viable, or, well, it can't be that because this would offer the same solution as this, but all solutions are unique. So it might have to be that instead. That puts you on there, which can't be. That would be your 2 on the outside edge. But then this can't exist like that. So this seems to be more likely. It's just this guy. I don't see... how this ends up with just one side. Well, that's how it ends up. You get 99% of the way there, and then just clicking around gets you to that last 1%. I'll take it. All right, where else do we have? Jeez. Okay. Where's our inn going to be? Well, this has to touch all of that. That's a start, isn't it? This could do that. No, can't do that because this needs one side. So would it be this? And this has to have one side and not the rest. It's just the Palisades rule. And that's all. It can't be this because that can't go to 3 sides. So it would have to be that, but this then presents a problem that I can't find the logic forwards into. With some of the puzzles, my brain can just kind of look at it and see all the options at once, and especially on like the 1s, 2s, and 3s. But these guys just don't gel with like the mental image that the puzzles create in my head. This is either going to have to do that or that. Okay, so if this has to do this or this, then that has to be a line, which means those have to all be open on this piece. And then that's going to go up 1 or down 1. This has an outside edge, so it's going to gain either this piece or this piece, which means one of them is going to make a square end. This needs a single line. It can't be that because it breaks this parallel side. It can't be that because it breaks that parallel side. It could be this, potentially. If it were... No. Does it have to be that? Maybe it does. It seems like it has to be, doesn't it? How do we get more around corners? It cannot be that. Where else can this go? So this has to take that and that, or that and that, which means this is line is that one, which means it must take those. This is going to take this, or this. This needs 2. This needs 1 and this needs 1. This one cannot take that side because that would be unhappy. So it has to be one of these. So I think those have to be part of the same region. Okay, we can do a few of those then, I think. So this can't do that, therefore that and that must be in the same region. This can't do that, therefore that and that must be in the same region. There's going to be a lot of this, isn't there? Okay, that gives us a lot more to work with. You need one of these. We can have as many kind of like little single pieces as we want. That's not going to be a problem. So you're going to get one of those. Kind of looks like a lot of this stuff is going to become big squares. It's like we can do that. But it's a bit more of a logical leap that I just want to jump straight into. Right, this needs two sides. But it can't be one of these. So it has to be this or this. Therefore, I think that has to be a line. That's probably going to hold true over here then. But we don't have this line to be sure yet. If this is that one's line, this would have to do this. Can it do that? No. Okay, hold on. You can't have that. You must get this. Can you join that? You could, hypothetically. You can't do that. You must get this. If you are getting that, because this can't exist, so that must be there. It means that this, if that has the north line, must take this and this, and therefore must take that, but that doesn't work. Is my logic flawed here? Right, ignore that one a second. It's the same logic as up here, right? This doesn't have any edges. This is either going to get this or that, which means this must be true. If this must be true, this guy has his one edge, must consume those. This guy must get either that or that. Therefore, you must be in an area. If you're going to get two, this must be true. How do I reconcile this with the rest of this? Unless this is all one area, perhaps. No, I don't. Excuse me? What did I hit? Is this C? What is C doing? C, erase notes. Oh. I was just looking for undo. But I mashed the wrong part of the keyboard. This looks like it's going to work out. Is this working out? It could be working out. But you're not happy anymore. Well, then that could be working out if that has to be the one other one. The problem is I haven't internalized how we got here. It's just continuing to not be problematic. Which is not how this should really go. I think that one has to go do that, because if this does this and goes out to here... I mean, technically we could do that. We just can't have this be that colour because of this line. So, there's more that all of this can do. You would have to take that if you're going to have this line here. That would have to come out to here. You've got your L. You get your L. But that can't do... Okay, now we have a problem. We could do all of that together. Can't do that, though. Oh, it's all coming crumbling down. Oh. Minecraft villager noises. That can't do that. Means that has to do that and this. To be a different colour, because we can't have the same colour on both sides of the wall. You need a second line, which would have to be this. You have 2 lines already, so you have to grow out. You need a second line, which would have to be that. You can come in there and get a second line there. So far, a lot of this looks nice. At least. You need a second line, which would have to be this. That could be a separate corner. That would have to go up to there and there. Can't be the same colour. You've got 2 lines, so you'd have to come out to there. You've got 2 lines, so you'd have to go up to there. You've got 2 lines, you'd have to go up to there. Bottom half of the puzzle looks great. Top half of the puzzle, I'm worried about, because if the bottom half is wrong somewhere, then the top half ain't going to work out, is it? This can't go to there. This could go to here. Which would leave that to there. And that to there, absorbing that. That would have to go to there because you only have one side. Can this become a box? Yes. Then that would have to be a box. Or a boxish thing. You have one open side now. So you have to be open there and there. Join that. Colour that in. Nice. It was a bit squirrely, but we got there. Just a little bit squirrely. What are you hiding down here? Just palisades and this one fixed wall, which is nice because it gives us this and this to start, which is always welcome. So this can't be true. So therefore that must be true and that must be true. You only get one line. So it has to be that one, which means that comes out there, and that goes down, which means that goes down to the wall. That has an L, so that must be this. That must go all the way to that. That has an L, which must come up here. This can't carry on over because it would put the same color wall on both sides. Who picks up that square? We don't know yet. So far, pretty happy. You are only getting one edge, which looks like it's going to be that. This makes a bucket. That makes a straight edge. If that's that, you can do not that. How are we going to fill in this side of this thing? There's a great question. This piece, just to go to the entirely other side of the puzzle, can't do this because if we draw that in, this breaks. So that has to go that way and draw that in. Therefore, that must draw in onto those. If this is going to have 3 walls, then it must do that. If this is going to have 2 walls, then it must do that. No. It must do... Huh? You've got 2 walls. It's that one and that one. How are we going to colour that in different? Alright, something is broken. Oh dear. Oh, that could come to there, couldn't it? That would be allowed. I don't know why I put these 2 parallel to each other as we started our building. Is that going to change much? It's going to change quite a lot, I think. All right. Back to this. This cannot do that because it would have to do that. So we know that to be true. That there is coming out to here, which means that has to do that because it has its 2 walls affixed already. With 1 affixed wall, that then has to become this. This can't grow around the corner, so that must be true. And that must be true. Nope. How? That can't be. How do we do this guy? 2 sides. How do we do that guy? This cannot be a bucket that way. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Why did I think it couldn't? I didn't see the alternate option. That would have to go that way. That would be viable. That would have to terminate there. That can be a single piece. That can go to there. This could be our onward journey. Okay. But now this doesn't work. Oh dear. What have I gotten myself into now? Right, I gave my brain a minute so that we can refocus on this. This and this must be true. This and this must be true because we can't do that. The same, therefore, is true of this because we can't do that. Right. This guy can't come down to here because this needs a chevron. If we do that, it gets 3 pieces. So this already has this one. It's going to get either that one or that one, which means that this must come out that way. What else do we know for sure? These are the real questions. This now has 2, which means it must grow out in this direction and this direction. This is getting 3, which means it must get those. This is got 2, so it must grow out in this direction and this direction. That does not have to be incorrect yet, because we can join those together to break it. So, well, I'm not going to deal with that yet. I'm going to go this has to be this, and that has to be true. Now, this is getting a 1-line piece somewhere. This zone and this zone can't be the same because of that wall. Therefore, it looks like that's going to have to join that, right? So, if this is going to get 1, I think it has to be this one, because these two can't be the same region. Therefore, this goes out to that side. Right, this is where it breaks, because now I can't do this guy. Everything was making so much sense in my logic right up to that moment. How does that not work? So, these guys can't... Stop it! These can't be capped on either side. You have to go left. You've got 2. Which means you must grow out like that. Which means you've got 3. Which means you must grow out like that. Which means you've got 3. You have to join that region. Which means we can't do that. Somewhere, really fundamentally, I'm missing something about how this right-hand side works. I mean, can we figure out anything from the left-hand side? Don't know. Do not know. Because now I'm just going to repeat the bits that I've decided are true over here again, in that this can't do that, because that can't do that. Except it can? Where does this come unstuck? Was I just that fundamentally incorrect in the top right corner? Maybe. This needs 2. Right, that can't do that. Okay, that was what I was once again missing, wasn't it? If this comes down, this has to go left. This then has to have that be a different colour, which would do that. Which then that has to come down into there. And then this would have to be a different colour to that. I cannot see where I'm going fundamentally wrong within that. We got any more 3s around? Oh boy! Well, we can work with some corners here. That must touch that and that. This must touch that and that. This must touch that and that. That must touch that and that and be the same as that, because those two share that. Where do we go from there? This must get one out, which means that must do that. That must get one out, which means that must do that. That could all be this. Oh, it's precision 5. I didn't even notice that it was precision 5. Alright, that I think is a nice start. Because that has to go up there, that has to go there. Then this just kind of carries on as a fundamental part of that. These... One of these has to not be the same as that group. This has to join that region. That has to do that. Therefore, that has to gain that region. They can't be the same. That has an L now, so that has to join that region, which needs an L. That has to come out to here, at least. This needs 2 on it. It could be that. It could also not be that. Okay. You have 2, so you have to pick that up. Therefore, you must come out to here. You have to take 2. If it's this, that would be that, which reads as valid so far. But there's definitely one other way it could go up high, I think. This must take at least that. These two could technically share borders like that. What else do we know that must definitely be true? Looks like you must come out to there to get out. Therefore, that line must be there, because you're going to come either up or down with an edge. This can't do that, because if we do this, it becomes too small. You need one more. I think this has to go that way. Which means those have to pick those up. God, I hope some of what we've got so far is correct. This needs a second line, so it would have to be that. Therefore, that would have to be that. Therefore, that would have to take this one, so it can't go up. That gets all of that and that. Therefore, that gets that. Put a box around it. This has to pick up this and this because it's in a corner. This has to pick up this. Oh, God. And that. And therefore, this space is a 1 on its own in the corner, and everything we have done is for 0, I believe. Damn. So, I was happy with this must touch those, and this must touch those, and that is an area of 5. Put a box around it. This must come out to that, that must come out to there. This must come out to those. And then what? This has a chevron. It has 1. It must take this. That must go up there. Therefore, this must take that and that. This needs 2 sides. This needs 2 sides. Therefore, it's going to have to take some semblance of a corner. It can't do this and go to there because it can't join that group. And it can't take that. That must take that line. That's got 2. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. That's got 2, so that must take that. That's got 2, it must take this and this. That needs 2. And it can't be that one, so it has to be those. Therefore, that picks up that and this. Because we can't put a box around that. Okay, this is all good so far. This has 2 walls, gets that and that. This needs a 5th, takes that. Oh, excuse you. Press Shift, not Z. This, I'm very happy with. Now, where did we go wrong after this? This is going to take either the left or the right, therefore that line must exist. This has 1 of its 2 lines, therefore that line must exist and it must come out to here. That has both of its lines, therefore it can't draw that line or that line. You must draw that line then. Therefore, you have both of your lines, you come to here. Therefore, you need 2 lines, has to be that and that, therefore you get a 5th. Put a box around it. Therefore, you have 2 lines, so you gain this and this. You must pick up those. You have 2 open sides, therefore put lines on it. That is 5, put a box around it, therefore you must pick up this and this because you have chevrons. You must pick up that and that. You need to get to 5, so you pick up those, put a box around it. This space can only take into there. This needs 2 lines. It can't be these because we can't pick up that and put a box around. Oh, we can. We can do that, but I don't know that's necessarily correct. But we could do that, hypothetically. What's next? This piece has 2 sides, must take that and that. This piece must have a line on one side or the other. This piece can't do that and come into this. Therefore, it must do this. Therefore, this has 2 lines. It's going to pick up this and this, put a box around it. This has 2 lines. Has to take this and this, put a box around it. This has to come out. This has 1 line, it needs a 2nd line. This has 1 line, needs a 2nd line. Can't do this because it locks off that piece. Therefore, this has to come down to here, that has to go up to there, put boxes around those. This has 2, has to take this and this. This has 2, has to take that. This needs 2, therefore must be those, that gets that. This has 2 lines, gets this and this, that picks up that. Once we commit to the actual logic, it goes very nicely. I just had to see the logic. What about you? A 5. Precision 18. Are you joking? Well, I don't mind this to start, because that is this line. Therefore, this must take that, that, and that. And they must have lines. Therefore, this has to come out to here. This is either going to be that and that, or that and that. Therefore, that must be a line. This has to be a different color to this, because we can't have both colors on both sides of a wall. Therefore, this has to get out. Therefore, that has to get out. Therefore, this has to get out. So, I like that. This, therefore, has to come down, and those are going to do that. Therefore, that has to come down. If they're going to be 2 regions of exactly 18 in a grid of 36, just my gut common sense says that this is going to come out like this. But gut common sense is where I get wrecked otherwise. So, what else can we know to be true? The open side on that could be any side. The difficulty 5. So we might have to really chew on some stuff to find our logic here. This needs 2 lines, therefore that must be one of them. If this goes right, it can't go underneath. And therefore this blue would have to go underneath. And that is going to bifurcate our area of red and red. So this does go left. Therefore, this red can't be on both sides. Therefore, this will be blue. So we've logicked out what my assumption was otherwise going to be. It feels like then this is going to have to do that so that this can carry on. How big is this now? 12. 15. If that's got 1, it's the south side. That's got 2, it's on there, has to come up. This could come down to here to get to 16. Could it be... Like, once again, I've said it before, I've said it 100 times. That does not feel like a difficulty 5 puzzle to me when I can get so stuck on a 3 sometimes. It baffles me, the arrangement of how difficult a puzzle is versus the rating that it is, so say, given. There's a 6 there, a 6 there, a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4. We got these up here, 4 and 5. That guy down there, another 4. I think we've had most of the simpler stuff now. That one was one of those reflections that my brain could not gel with. All right, time to start tackling more 4s. That's going to do that. That's going to do that. That's going to do that. And that's going to do that. All regions must be one of these shapes. That is interesting. Well, this cannot be a 3x3 because it breaks that. Therefore, this cannot be a 1x1. Therefore, it is a 2x2. Put a box around it. Is that true for all of these things? Looks like it, doesn't it? Well, that one can be a 3x3. That one is valid as a 3x3, as is that one. 2x2 there, 2x2 there, 3x3 there, and a bunch of 1s. Simple. All regions must be L, 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 or L. Bleeding L. Right. Where do we begin? Well, this has to come out to at least here. This has to come out to at least here. Sure. Now, if this has 2 edges, it's question mark got to be this, because if this comes out, that goes. Oh no, it could be that. Could be that. Excuse you. But it could be this as well. So none of that really helping right now. This must be lines, though. This needs a second one. It could be this or that. Therefore, this is going to... Oh. Sorry. It could be this or that. Therefore, these are the same area. This cannot go to there, because that would be that. It can't be that. Could be... Couldn't be that. Okay, I don't think this green L can actually come up taller. I don't know why I thought it could earlier. But if it does this, we end up with a 3 cap, which it can't have. It can't do that and come out to a shape that it's not allowed to be. Can't do that. Can't do that. Therefore, I think that must be just this. This can't do that because it can't make this shape. So that has to come up. That has to be that. This has to make that shape. This has to come up further. That's the biggest that shape can be. That's going to have to be at least 3 long. Could be 2 more down. Could be 1 more down. This cannot do that, because then this would need stuff on 3 sides. So I think that's true, and that's true. That's true. Therefore, that is just that shape. Therefore, that has to do this. That means this empty space here, I believe, must go like this. That means that's going to do that, and do at least that, which means that can go 5, that can go 5, that can go 3, that can go 4. Lovely. The 5 there. 4 here. We looked at this one once before. I do believe we looked at this before. We can look at it with fresh eyes for a hot minute. So all regions must be one of these shapes. Therefore, every edge piece cannot stand alone. It must propagate out into the level. So, that must be true. That much, at least. That means that this has to do that, and that is going to there. That means this has to be a T-shape that ends there, because if it wasn't, we would leave a one-gapper, which we can't have. Therefore, this can't leave a one-gapper, but it could be a T-shape on either side. This needs 2 lines. That's going to be 1, and then the other is going to be one of the other sides. That's going to be true of this as well. Therefore, this cannot sit alone if this were true. So that must be true. Therefore, this has to take up that piece. This can't sit alone. So I think that must be true. Oh, big stretch. We say it every time Puppy Goose does a big stretch because it's like, it's the rules. If your dog does a big stretch, you have to go, oh, big stretch. And now it's just part of my day-to-day vernacular. Okay, that must make that 3 and that a T piece. Lock it in, which makes that doesn't have to be a oh no, that does have to be a T piece. Lock it in. That makes that a chevron. Lock it in. That could go either way in like a chain. What about over here? If that's true, that leaves a solo piece there, so that has to at least pick that up, which makes that true, which means that has to be picked up into there, which means that has to be picked up into there, which means this has to be picked up into there. It's only these 3 that we have to account for remaining. Doesn't seem like it should be too bad. We do T-shape, T-shape. Okay, that has to be a hook like that because we can't leave this square unclaimed. And we finish with a couple of T's over there. That's lovely. We were looking for 4s. Are you not done? You're not done. Did I just miss you? Not sure. You must reach out into those spaces, and therefore you must be a T. You cannot be a T because you can't take that on. Therefore, you must be a domino. Therefore, you must take at least those, which means you have to be at least a square because we can't make a T shape with these pieces. So you must be that, which means that is a domino. That is a domino. That is going to be stretching out to at least here. That can't do that because that would leave those both needing to be that. No, it could. dominoes are allowed. Yeah, okay, cool. Little 3 hiding. Goose has said hello. I took a picture of Goose for you, and I was hoping I could just pull it up immediately, but it hasn't synced to the Photos app yet on the computer, so it'll have to wait, unfortunately. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Okay. Where is our inn? It looks like it's either got to be that with that in the middle, or the opposing direction has to be true. But what we can't do is then have this be a corner. No, that can be a corner that reaches that. Okay, interesting. That then would have to be a corner that reaches that. That could be... Oh, excuse me. That could be a square. That'd be allowed. But this could not... Oh, that could go all the way to there. Just make sure none of this is unhappy so far. Okay, that's interesting. This needs 3 open sides. So that has to be how that goes. But that line can't exist within it. So I think we're starting horizontal because of this disambiguator here. So you group into that. You go into... Wait, what? How did my brain think this was going to go? No, that just has completely broken me, this square here. It was all looking so peachy keen, and then it wasn't. How about that? You need to be open on 3 sides. If you do this, I mean... that can't do that. All right, maybe there's just more corners in this than I was suspecting. That's all pretty tidy, I would say. Can we finish this? It's a great question. That has to come to there and there. That has to come to there and there. We can't finish it. And it was looking so good. So you've got one side. Damn. I already thought that was going to be it. But I'm probably just making too many assumptions. So what do I definitely know is what I'm trying to figure out here. Because Palisades is the only rule, so these can exist alone, things can have multiple sizes. I know that, like, if this exists... Okay, if this exists, then... Oh, stop it. No, I can't see where the logic starts in all of that, and it just gets me all tied up in knots. We still need 7 more. 7! This all must exist. That all must exist. It could have... Oh, regions of exactly 6. Okay, I was going to say, it could have a border between it, and it looks like it probably must. This only has 1 line. It can't be this one or this one. It could be that one. No, couldn't be. Can't be that, because that gets left off as a 1. Alright, that I like. Let's just revisit this one a second. That makes for 5. This must be the 6th because it's in a corner that can't be accessed otherwise, so we can definitely put a box around that. That's got to do that with this edge. That's got to do that with that edge, and with this only having 1 side, I think that is the most suitable. That blocks those 2 apart as dead ends. That's got to come out to here. Then that must exist as part of that. You cannot be part of that region. So that's going to be at least that. Where's the rest? Great question. A great question of where is the rest. This could be 1 zone. It could not be. That can't go out to there. That's too long. That could go to there. I feel like I need some logic from the right-hand side to contribute to the left-hand side now. But what? Are these going to be in the same... I don't think these can be in the same group of 6. Because any way to do that is going to have too many lines. I think that line has to be the gap. Because if we do like this, I mean, we could do that as a zone. That would be viable. Can this exist? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a box around it. Put a box around it. Put a box around it. Join that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. It's not so bad. You are a 4 as well. 5. You over there were a 4 I was just struggling with. 6 up there. That's a different set of puzzles. We do you down here? Yeah. There's 7 here in the center. That's the biggest of the realm. Oh boy. All regions must be this shape. This doesn't have any borders. So one of the edges must be the 5th part, and it must be that one, because otherwise that piece gets left out alone on the edge. That's good. Then how can this tile contribute to this shape? Well, it would have to be one of the 2 prongs, which would either be this, which is wrong, or that, which is correct. Then this would have to be one of the 2 prongs, and that's going to be that. Is it? Is it going to be that? Because then how does this contribute to that shape? I don't know that it can. So therefore, is that way. And then that way. Excuse you. That was a much more aggressive line than I wanted. That gets a box around there. This looks very good. But I'm worried that somewhere disambiguation has reared its ugly head. But actually, it's fine. Q. It's one of those ones where once you get the first bit of logic, it just goes and there's nowhere to get like hung up on anything. Precision 5. Right, if we get this one, it'll probably be the last one for the day. Let's have a look. This guy has his lines, so it's going to pick up those. This can't have both of these, so it's going to pick up one of them. This needs a 5th piece. That's all I've got from that right now. This could hypothetically go out in that direction, but if things are exactly 5, how do we get these 2 to have just one line apiece on them? It's going to have to be something akin to this. Oh, except you ended up with 2. So I need you to be part of the middle of a length of 3. In fact, is there any other group of 5? A T-shape would do it as well. But those are the only 2 groups of 5 that I can see that have a square that exists within them with 3 edges. It's this shape or that shape, because what else do we have? Full straight line doesn't work. 4 hook doesn't work. It could do that. Okay, glad we checked for the different shape options. So there are a few options here that would allow for a piece. It would be T for 5. big boot for 5, or one of those. Those all allow for this cell to be the one that has one single edge apparent of it. So what can we do with that knowledge? It's amazing to me that this has a unique solution. My brain's like, oh yeah, you can like figure out the most niche bits and then just build anything around the rest of it. But no, that's not how it works. It's not how that works. So this needs an L, and the remaining piece is definitely incorporating into some part of this. You'd have to be on the wide end of that. So with this being the border, which of these shapes can have this in it without interrupting the rest is a great question. Is it only this one? Because that leaves you with one face already open. I guess you could then do that. But then how do we get this one to join the club with the limited options? Especially with these two little voids here available. Well, we can cut that off. You could be up there instead, or you could be over there, so perhaps there are more options. That leaves... Yeah, it can't be this, because you'd actually have to be the long piece of the nubbin, wouldn't you? So, this guy here. Can't be that, because that would end up with this. Are there any other groups of 5 that I'm not thinking of that can make a piece with a free hollow? It can't be this, because the one in the center has 0. It can't be that. Are there any other pentominoes I'm not thinking of? I could look up a pentomino set, but I'm just not going to right now. Any others that are really obvious that I'm missing? I think that's the group. I got that one twice. I think that's the group. And it's just the T, this thing, and the thumbs up that are viable. How do I get that? How do I get 4 of these into those? Or alternately, how do we get this one in the corner into one of those next to a different one of those? Now that leaves a 2 gap that can't exist. You could be a T. How does this piece get into one that will almost... Oh, wait, there's also this guy. But that doesn't have any free space in it either. How does this get into one of those groups of pentominoes? And almost certainly has to include the corner, right? Because that would break the corner. We can't do a T shape. It can only be that. I think. I think there is no other way to get that in the corner with this being resolved happily. That could be a T. It could be a long. It could be that. It could be that. The fives around them don't matter nearly as much. If you did that, how would you get this one into one of those? You couldn't. What if we did that? That or that would be viable. How would we do this one without blocking off this edge? This is so not the way I feel like this logic is supposed to go, but I don't see a better way through it right now. You can't be part of a T. You can't be part of a 4-long. Therefore, you must be either this or this, which means that line must exist, that line must exist. If it's this, then that would have to be that and leave a gap, which it can't. That would work. That would work. Oh, God. I can't do it right now. I'm going to have to leave these scribbles here, and I think that is my brain done for the day. Precision 3. We could try and win. Try and end on a win, right? We could try. It's only a level 4. You have one. You need one more. Precision 3. Both of those would be viable. That would not. This has to be part of a 3, so we can't close it off like that. It could be that, which would then have that be that, and that be that, which closes that off, which cannot be. That can't be that. How do we get this top line to be okay? Not like that. was all right until we got to here. It was going so well. You must take that tile, right? Because one of you, you're going to have an L shape. So that can't do that. You must take that tile, which means that can't exist. Therefore, this is going to take this or this. Thus, that and that must exist. Goose is back again. So you're going to take that or that. You have this, which means you're going to take that with that or that. Which means this must exist, which means you're going to take that and that or that. Goose has a sock he's not supposed to have. Good job, Goose. But not really. Alright, I've got like 7 minutes to solve this puzzle, otherwise I actually have to properly end the video. This can go up or down. This can go up or down, that can go up or down. This can go up or down. So those have to be drawn in. That could be true. Come on, where's the rest of the logic? Find more logic. Find it fast. Those must exist. If this goes up, this can't go up. It must go down. If this goes down, that can't go down. So they have to be kind of out of sequence of each other. That would have to go up. That would have to go down. That would have to go up. That makes 3. Didn't we just do this? Oh, we got it. We got it. Cool. Right, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more. We need 4 more of those, but we may well get those next time because this has gone reasonably well considering how intimidated I was when we first looked at this strange mechanic. For now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.